Good morning. We are going to figure out where the heck the actual YouTube link is for this. Okay, I know it's there. Um, let's see. Okay, we're going to jump over and we're going to make a mess today because it's going to join me on. Uh-oh, copyright. I don't know. Is that copyright music? They're going to hit me? Okay, view my channel. The first bit of this is going to be absolute hash mess. So if someone joins us from the outside world, it's not like super live, but it is technically, you can find it, you know? You have to have the link, but I don't even care, you know? It'll all be good. So let me send off where... Oh, right. I need to break them into pieces for others. Okay, we're just going to hang out for a little bit. Good morning. Good morning. I'm going to do my hash stuff and then I'll tell you what the purpose of the meeting is. But first, I'm going to do my live stuff because I am probably going to turn this into a video later, and it's live so that people can watch it there. I thought that this one had a ability to private link like Riverside does, but Restream may or may not have that. But this is all set up to be my brand. So I'm going to attempt to record it that way and just for the chat, but I'm going to private it over on the actual channel after, kind of thing. So good morning. My name is Maria, but you can call me Little Miss Diagnosed. And welcome to the Sunday, October, how did it get to be the 19th, 2025. Today we're going to talk about triggers. So this is a safer stream. On Sundays, I do my safer stream where my language is PG. I talk as calmly as possible. I am relaxed. We learn something, and it should be available to our younger viewers or to those amongst us to have a calm time. However, I am going to put a trigger warning, content warning for triggers themselves. We're going to talk about triggering events and how they relate to PTSD, but we are actually going to talk about the root cause of things. And I'm going to tell a story that is going to seem completely and utterly off topic because it is an example of the concepts. And you know that you can take the teacher out of the classroom, you can't take the classroom out of the teacher, that the concepts and the metaphors behind our mindsets, the 4 M's that we've covered on my channel before, are how we get to undoing the damage of misdiagnosis, missed diagnosis, and misdiagnosis, which is the goal of the channel, as well as to be a place to be a mom. I'm not your mom, but I am a mom on the internet. And right now, some people need a hug, and so do I, and that's okay because we're human. So that's what we'll do. And this morning I woke up after a particularly difficult week, and I had the concept of Flixborough come back to my head. And it seems completely ridiculous that I'm going to talk about one of the largest non-war explosions in England. I can't do frog eyes. Only my kid can do that. We need some frog eyes on this channel. But it serves as a perfect example of what's called the 5 whys, or root cause analysis. And for those who are struggling with mental lives that are anxious or traumatized or triggered or currently dealing with misdiagnosis or chronic health, we need to learn new metaphors to deal with that. And the metaphors start with storytelling. So if Flixborough is completely offside for you, totally fine. Go to the last 10 minutes of the video. I'll mark it with conclusion, as I usually do. I say, here you go. Thanks to anybody who does show up. I have not been on my channel in forever. For the first time in forever. Sings copyright Disney music. And that is how actual chronic illness and lives work, and it is not how the algorithm works. And that's the fault of the algorithm, not the human body. As my favorite professor used to say, it is not a problem with the tool you are using. It is a problem with the tool who is using it. Human interaction design, where I taught, is about making tools work for humans, and it has been instrumental in helping me understand my misdiagnosis process and the other stuff and things in life that make it difficult. I'm going to go over and copy my links to some people and make sure that they can get on and we can have a chat. And I'm going to share this. The goal of this today is to share it with my family and friends and things, just a small little group of us. However, if for some reason someone shows up live, I've never had more than 1 or 2 people live, so don't worry too much. I can see that, and that's fine. And you know what? Welcome to the stream. Let me bring up my thing, and while I'm doing that, I'm going to run my introduction and my disclaimer. And I need to get a mouse that's not so clicky, don't I? I don't know. The chat can tell me how this is going, okay? Tell me if you can hear the fan and if the mouse is really annoying. I try to click when I'm not talking so that the recording is at least good. Let me jump over and let's say hello. Welcome back, everybody. I'm going to drop this into Discord for all of the peeps. And we got some hangers on here. Cool. Good, good, good. And we have a live chat. I already did, bro. Look at the comments. That's thanks. How about you jump on the you jump on their chat there, live chat. Come on. I am the voices because those are the children who called me bruh or bro. You know how I think there used to be a thing for moms, parents that was like, sorry about knocking the camera. I don't have my usual setup. There used to be a thing that was like mommy, mama to mom to like, hey, where's your wallet? And it has to include bro and bruh now. I thought I used to say dude a lot. I now believe entire conversations can occur with bro. So I would love you to hang out in the dang chat there. Say hello. Say hello. We can see who's actually here. You do not need to. And I have lots of conversation coming in from other people on other comments. I should get my text to come into here too. That'd be great. The goal, my dear other family members, is that the meeting is actually for a storytell to get this out of my brain, but it is really important as a story. It's not just a regular ramble. It is a story that includes the metaphor of solving a problem when you're stuck. When you're stuck on the surfaced cause, especially. And with triggers and with PTSD or anxiety or OCD or just regular old worry, what happens is that we get stuck. And I need to do this to clear my head, and then I'm going to be back troubleshooting other things and doing some other work that I have to do. But my brain needs to tell this story. It is similar, if for my family members will know this, it's similar to the Orthodox Christmas that we celebrate in our family. It is not a religious thing. It's not terribly one of those traditions that is because the world says you have to. It's actually something that we've chosen as a family. And I have run with it, as I usually do, and turn it into a magnus opus feast. This is a similar storytelling. And in my family, my mother's Skype sessions with all of her adult children and things got to be called the Queen's Message, like at Christmas, like the BBC thing. CBC for Canadians, BBC or whatever the news service across the wire, right? And so mine is now a storytell for an hour or two to clear my head and to get down this story that I've told a million times of Flixborough to my students, but I don't have a recording of it, and the concepts that it holds. And that is especially important of triggers versus triggering events versus cause versus root cause. And and this would be my live streaming YouTube star who is listening to me off by a couple seconds. And so now it's going in circles. Welcome to, do you realize though that if I say that Rocket's on stream, then everybody's going to be here and I don't want it to be. Some of the people who subscribe to you have subscribed to me just so that they can bug me and be like, hey, is Rocket on your stream? My teenager is much more famous than I am and is currently undergoing a campaign to make the cat more famous than me. If you go look at their channel, they have just crossed 1 year. Congratulations. I have also crossed a year, I think, though I've had the channel longer, but a year of this brand. And they have literally made the brand. I don't think I have 200 subscribers yet, which doesn't matter because this was always for me. They have recently crossed 12,000. It's a good thing I'm not their manager or people would be concerned. So actually they're managed by their sibling. So, that's none of my business because I just screw things up when I go visit. And that is what unconditional love and support is. I support them absolutely unconditionally and wonderfully. Rocket is one of the best things I have ever seen, and I love it and adore it. And now They're in my walls. Not again. Not in the walls. Get out of the walls, kid. Do I have to get my broom? Start banging on the ceiling to get kids out of the walls? This happens every live stream. Kids in the walls. So the queen mother. No, wait, you're the queen, not the queen mother. Thank you very much. Maybe off doing some other things. And that's just fine. And I'm going to tell the story, and then we're going to move on to getting some other stuff done privately. But this one needs to get recorded like this. It's how it is. You live in the walls again. Oh no, it's back in the walls. Okay, quick guest star. Let's mark this occasion for the chat. The cat is more famous than me. Hashtag. I don't think it is yet, but we'll post Sylvester's channel. I think the cat might deserve to be more famous than me. That was. Thanks for saying hi, Sylvester. Oh, this is absolutely wonderful. No, I love this. This is good. Join us. Join us, whether you're here for me, whether you're here for the thing. As I said, one of the goals of my safer streams, and this one's safe-ish. One of the goals of my safer streams is that there's nowhere to be when the world doesn't feel safe, when there's nowhere to just hang out and chat. I talk about big dang concepts for the adults and for those who are horribly overwrought and hyperbolic like myself. But I also think there's just a place to listen. Where is the chatter that, as my mother talked about historically and anthropologically, we would have sat around the fire and people would have left to go to sleep, but they would have heard the chatter of the rest of the village or the tribe or the community gather. And it is, I think, evolutionary that as we get older, we turn on the radio to listen to all night. I now go to sleep basically with, whiny Brit talking in my ear, or History Calling, one of the two best channels for British ladies who talk really calmly. And sometimes some of them swear. It's a great thing to have. So if you don't want to listen to anything I'm saying, totally fine. You can just enjoy falling asleep to this. I may do the same. No. I don't think I could ever listen to my own voice to fall asleep. I don't think it would work. I have limits. Even as someone who talks the most, that I think. Grammarly recently sent me an email that said, congratulations, you're now in the 99.9th percentile for the number of words that you use in a week, both sheer amount and unique words. So the number of different words and the number of total words. At a certain point, it's not a compliment anymore. And Grammarly says there are 21 million Grammarly users, and I am in the couple of people who talk too much. Thanks, Grammarly. I knew that. But words create metaphors. Metaphors create words. And Plato was wrong. And the book, The Metaphors We Live By, which was considered ridiculous in the 1970s, I think that the metaverse out there would think that, yes, the words change everything, right? Especially in our neurodiverse, queer diverse, and body diverse, ability diverse populations. They change the world. So we're going live from inside Rocket's walls, and we're going to tell the story of Flixborough. So I'm also going to give a content warning. Like I said, this is a safer stream, but it is not a completely, not completely PG. Just calmer. The reason is because Flixborough, the Flixborough disaster, was the largest or one of the largest still, non-nuclear, non-wartime explosions that occurred in all of England. And I am going to try on my live stream and see if I get copyrighted for doing some Google searches, because I don't know if I have this stuff, but I'm going to be taking it down and editing it anyways. So welcome to Spoon, whose comment shows as face green smiling, face green smiling, face green smiling, face green smiling. And to Rocket, who text green game over. It's a good thing that my software can show emojis and stickers and things. Oops. Go subscribe. I'm not even going to ask you to subscribe to my channel. Go subscribe to their channel. They're doing the work of changing the world through language more than I am. And welcome to any other of my, as I call them, my spare children, or my bonus children, or my hanger-ons children, whatever age you are, whether you are younger or older, or even older than me, you are still a baby because you were born someday. And that makes you a human baby, and therefore you are a child of this world and of this incredible thing where we just for 100,000 years have been humans, and we forget in our daily lives that we are the product of over 2,000 generations. And the way society looks right now and the things you're struggling with right now are only one tiny little iteration. Think of just the difference of clothing in the last 100 years. And how it didn't change for hundreds and thousands and then tens of thousands of years before that. And here we are changing things minute to minute. The brain was not meant to go this fast. And there is a reason why everybody has anxiety now. We are running new software on old hardware. And if you've ever tried to put Windows 11, say bye, Windows 10. It's time to update no matter what you're doing. If you try to put Windows 11 updated on an old machine, you've seen what happens. It slows down and creaks, doesn't it? And that's exactly what happens to our minds when we are given as much to process and intake as we are now. It is wonderful, and it is horrible. Anything that is a gift is now something you have to carry around. And the internet and globalization is part of that. But it does mean that we can hear stories from anywhere. And that's the part I want to highlight. That I can hear a story from wartime England or from the 1970s in a small village in the middle of the United Kingdom. Flixborough is a small town of less than 2,000 people, 1,500 or so. So think how small that little location is. And I'm going to pull this out so that I can do this with things. We're going to do... I haven't used this in so long that I got to add some stuff. You see? Let's go grab a tab, shall we? There we go. And let's share some good old Googling. Okay. This is Flixborough. It is in the middle of nowhere. It is in a region called Scunthorpe, UK. Don't say that 5 times fast. And if we go out, we're on West Butterwick, nope, Humber, where are we? I still don't know. Sheffield and Leeds. I don't know the UK very well, but I have heard of those places. We continue pulling out. Manchester, Liverpool. Okay, we're at that part. And there is Cambridge, and there is London. And so we are quite north, but not Glasgow and Edinburgh north. We are in the dead middle, I would say. And we are near to the river Humber and its offshoot, this little river that comes along, the River Trent. Remember that, it'll be important. And the little tiny neighborhood of Flicksborough. That is, I would say, less than a kilometer long. It's less than a mile. It might be half a mile. I don't know. It's not a very large town at all. And it has a few extra sites to it. It's sort of one of those, edge of another town. And there's an industrial area and the little old town proper. And then probably, the Costco. I don't know, but you know what I mean, the Travelodge or whatever. There's all these things. So North Lincolnshire or Lincolnshire. I was watching one about pronunciation, and it's currently cloudy and 13 degrees, and it's 5:32 p.m. See, that's the part of the internet that's really cool. Why the heck am I talking about Flicksborough? Oh, my vacation rentals. Good. Because this is Flicksborough. And this is Flicksborough. I think some of us from Ontario or New York State would be very comfortable driving down these semi-paved roads with some, I don't know, that looks like canola to me, yellow fields and things. Oh, look, it has a light, an entire light. Therefore, it's not a one stop sign town. It's a one light town. Why is that important? Why do I still talk about this little town? Because this is also Flicksborough. In 1974, this on a Saturday was Flicksborough. Notice the train line, notice the little bit of the creek of the River Trent that runs along. And if we don't look at history, we're doomed to repeat it. So let's see what it has to do with figuring out why something happens when we're stuck. And I'm going to use what is called in design the 5 whys. And I harass my students and my kids with this by saying, be a toddler. And in the middle of my lectures as a professor, when I am teaching, I come up to my students and I go, so why did it happen? And they say, well, what was the mistake that was made? What were the errors that happened? What was the design, what was the failure here? And they go, oh, well, yeah, it was a plumbing thing. They were doing repairs. And so it blew up. Why? And I probably just triggered my young adult children with that saying, why, too often. And my students get used to me coming up to them when they don't say enough, and I go, "Why?" And they go, "Well, because they had taken a pipe and spread it across to go around a chemical reactor because this was a nylon plant in 1974." And don't get me, no, I mean, don't get my mother started on nylon and what it meant to a whole nother generation. Thanks, James Burke and Connections, for making us connect to everything. And I'll say hello in the chat as well. And welcome to some of my not just another high school friends. This is not a class or a group of our pod. That's a not in real life, but in real life people that I connect with who are working on schooling outside of their registration. It doesn't change where they're registered. Many of those students are in school. I have friends that join me who need someone to talk to while they're working on it, whether they're home with a chronic illness, whether they are registered for online school. And I had previously, run that last year for a term or two to help students in the community who needed more than a tutor, but less than a new school. It's not a school, it's just a pod, as we call them in our area. It came out of the COVID pod practice of 5 or whatever students all hanging out and getting their schoolwork done. So I act as not your teacher, but a teacher for helping you get through a term and supporting you. And some of my alumni, I guess, are joining in as well, or might watch this later kind of thing. So hello to you. Here is also Flixborough. This is old. Yeah, it's like 100 years old, but it's not that old. It's only as old as I am, and I'm aware. I know. I say all the time on this channel, I'm an old lady. Absolutely. Absolutely an old lady. But you can tell I'm not 80, and there's nothing wrong with being 80. Mom. The queen, my queen, the queen of our family is 80. And I am not yet. This is not yet the queen's message. It is only misdiagnosed's message. But I'm old. But I mean, there were phones, there were electronics, there were computers, old ones, that it had begun. This isn't the same as 100 years ago or 200 years ago, right? And that's why I use it, actually, because it's not even now as we move ahead in history, because it just keeps happening. Annoying, isn't it? Second World War is awfully far away for youth, especially these days, but even for adults, people are, the 40s. Like, we're almost coming up on 100 years of that from the First and the Second World Wars. And so it's not the same thing as when it was, 40 years away, or it was within a lifetime. It's now moved off of many people's lifetimes. I believe the last Second World War veterans are have either died or are literally, there's a few of them, or whichever it is. Sorry, I may be conflating the wars, and that would be another of my children's channels. They need to go there. Okay. This is far away in time, but it's not that far. I want you to remember that. This is nylon. They were making gym shorts at this point. Really ugly 1940s or 1970s gym shorts, with the big mustaches, and think that, or windbreakers, all of that. And to begin, I want you to try to figure out, before we have much information, what your guess is for what went wrong. And as we're going along, if you want, mark it down, put it in the chat, do whichever. I'll give you the basics, and then we can put in some guesses. Here is I love when photos show up, but they don't show up, you know? Let's try again. Here is the before. I'm going to put it up as its own picture once I edit this, but for our live streaming purposes. Let's see if I can open this up for us a little closer, okay? This is the before. There we go. In 1974, this was the NIPRO plant. It was a nylon producing the threads, basically, that turned into nylon clothing and things. That's a type of synthetic that is created chemically in a reactor, like in a big tank, and then is spun and turned into fabric and other things. Where do you think your polyester comes from, right? Somebody's got to make it. If we go back to that map, just the good old regular today map of Flixborough. We see that that is this location on the side. It's now called the Flixborough Industrial Estate, and it is in fact still an industrial area. And it is First Street, running all the way through, that goes directly into All Saints Church, Flixborough. That's the church I showed pictures of. So First Street is Stather Street, is High Street, is the highway in kind of thing, probably where the light is or something. Okay. And if you look at it, you can recognize the curve, right? You may not know exactly which way it's oriented, doesn't matter, but there it is. There's the street running out and headed towards the town. And you can see that the town is only a kilometer wide or a half a mile or 3/4 of a mile, and it's only how far away, right? It is only about the same away. In fact, the industrial estate is larger than the town, I'm pretty sure. And it is only a mile away or a couple kilometers. But it is a couple kilometers, right? There's a goodly sized amount of stuff in the middle. So now we have the lay of the land. Literally. And we have a lay of the site. Here's the map. And here's the important bits of it. This here, this little tiny rectangle that says main office block is a approximately 3 or 4 story building with where the secretaries and all of the, admin would have been. So that's not a small building. It's not huge, but it's not small. Banana for scale. Car for scale. You'll notice that that's a parking lot right next to it under the word Section 25A. Section 25A points to the reactor and laboratory area. And it is marked because the lab is next to, and the control room for the laboratories and for the reactor domes is on the other side there, but how many cars lengths away from the reactors. And it's difficult to see in this picture. I wish I had a better one, but those Section 25A, it is pointing at a set of reactors, 6 of them, storage tanks and reactors. They are not small. That's a 4-story building, and those are silos. And that's another large laboratory building, and the hydrogen plant, while far away, is fairly far away. Those are other large buildings and warehouses and things. This is a very large industrial complex, and if you see it from the how big it is compared to the town, you see that it's the size of a town, right? It's the same size as Flicksborough almost. So this is a big dang complex, and these are roads that people are driving into. And it probably had restaurants or something in it and, places to whichever, and those are the fields around it. It is a large complex, but it does have a lot of empty space as well. On Saturday, the 1st of June, 1974, at approximately 5 in the afternoon, which is what time it is there now, the entire town of Flicksborough heard 2 things. They heard a bang on the horizon. Some people heard it. It sounded like perhaps a truck backfiring, or some, a shotgun going off, or something that was within the scope. Many people in the town did not hear it, but many on the leading edge of Flicksborough did, because it was only a mile away, a couple kilometers. And when they looked out their windows to see what had happened, a minute or 2 later, within the space of a couple of breaths, the entire Flicksboro industrial complex was destroyed in a single massive individual explosion. This explosion is still listed on Wikipedia, etc., as one of the top 5 non-nuclear, non-wartime explosions. In the 1970s, people would have still remembered the war and the bombings, the attacks on London, the raids, the hiding in the underground, the subway tunnels. It wouldn't have been that far away for people who had fought or lived through the 1940s war. The 1974 would have been only how many more years? And we will never comprehend how many of our soldiers around the world came home with PTSD, if they came home at all. The sound of an entire mile radius plant exploding in one bang sent up a mushroom cloud that looked as if a bomb had gone off. And a lot of people would have known what that felt like and immediately have it triggered back to their mind. I believe it is 23 people died on site. The explosion occurred on a Saturday because that is when a bare minimum set of people were on site doing maintenance and other cleaning, reorganization. It was a specific skeleton crew. 2 people, engineers, survived. I'll tell you why in a little bit. But approximately 23 people, and there is in the town of Flicksboro a memorial to them at the church. Some of them were found, but many of them, as it's been said, ceased to be biological and became physics. The only good thing is that they didn't know. The person who probably knew and had a moment, and I think of that often, is the man who was literally at the center of it. The part of the plant that was under repair was that section 25A. And what they were doing was bypassing one of the reactor chambers. One had a concern, and they took it offline and plumbed around it. In that image of the disaster, and thank you to Peter Arkell, and this image being used under fair use, those large silos are the middle. That's a fire truck or an old army truck or something that was assisting. It looks like a rescue truck, and here is some car mangled, and it instantly, I assume, and it blew up these 10-story tall reactors. So don't let this diagram fool you. This was a very, very large explosion. And what they'd done is taken one of the reactors offline. It doesn't show it here. They didn't get rid of it. They went around it so that they could clean it, check it. They had had some issues with it. It hardly even matters what it was. What was important is that they bypassed it. And this was planned. It was done on a Saturday, and it was planned. And they put a 20-inch, for reference, a piece of paper in North America is about, that's not a good piece of paper. I'm going to have to blur that, but can't see it very well. A regular piece of paper in North America is 11 inches, about 30 centimeters or so. So 20-inch pipe diameter is approximately 2 of those. Close enough. 10 inches, 10 inches. That's, what? About half a meter? It's not a pipe. It's a pipe. And that was the plan. They needed to bypass this. And the other parts of the crew that were there were mechanical engineers who created this plan. And it was implemented by a plumber. I mean, now, an industrial plumber, probably somebody who was almost a qualified, not an engineer themselves, but someone who was an industrial engineering plumber, specifically working on these very large pipelines. He was very well trained. He was up to the job. There's no reason to believe he wasn't. He heard the first bang because it is believed from the investigations then and over the years that that was the pipe blowing up. And he heard it and knew it. And at that point, he may or may not have been injured by that, depending on exactly where he was. This was before safety regulations. My students at this point, and everybody always goes, well, what about the regulations for not doing that? What were the rules? There weren't. It was the 1970s. You could still smoke in the office. The university that I went to, in their oldest buildings, had smoking rooms attached to the women's bathroom. They're now used as places to put on makeup or whatever, but they're still there. They don't think he was, but any spark, welding, whatever, they believe that it wasn't just an initial spark, because of course he was supposed to plumb this in. He was probably welding, he was probably soldering, he probably knew what he was doing, right? It was not, they were both all turned off, but there was a leak. Something didn't hold, something didn't happen. And the first bang was the pipe. And the second was the entire complex. And even though it was about a mile away, about a couple kilometers away, the entire complex was flattened. And at least 100 people were injured or blinded. The initial explosion of the pipe sounded like something going off. So people looked out their windows. It was tea time. People had come home from work, or they were at home at 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And the only reason there weren't hundreds of more deaths is because it wasn't commuting time on a Friday and no one was on the roads. But they were home, and the leading edge of the town had their roofs and all their windows blown out. 2 kilometers away, over a mile away, maybe 2 miles. The main injury was glass, blinding and cutting people. And there's a lot of footage from the news that says people lost their eyesight, or little kids and moms were cut on the face, and many of them, even if they weren't injured, many people felt what post-traumatic stress responses are, a literal trigger. Bomb just went off. I've been at a Remembrance Day ceremony that had a single small light infantry gun, what you might recognize as a small cannon, like a little tiny thing. go off, a light trailer cannon. And it shudders you right through your gut. And that's a single tiny one. And this was something that was town flattening. No matter where you were, even if you were safe in a basement at that exact second, you would have felt it. Every part of your body would have felt it. And in here, I want to remind you, this is a bit of a, I said safe-ish stream, but content and trigger warning. Take care of yourself first. If it's not the time for you to listen to this, don't. There'll always be a different moment where you can learn something else. Triggers are real. Many people, and I myself, one of my misdiagnoses involved post-traumatic stress responses. I was misdiagnosed badly, I might add, in a 5-minute meeting with not a psychological person. Someone who was actually supposed to do body chemistry and stuff, and so could have talked about, other things happening in my systems, but not whether or not I had a psychological, physiological disorder, because it's one that crosses. And about 3 weeks later, I was diagnosed with PTSD properly. I still struggle when I go to the emergency room, A&E, whatever it is, because the old diagnoses pop up on things and they say, well, you obviously have this or this or this. And I go, no, I don't. I was diagnosed at this hospital, and yet you don't know about my PTSD, or you don't know about my chronic pain and hypermobility and my presumed Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. Misdiagnosis isn't just, I didn't get the right information or it's written down wrong. It affects you every single day when you walk out the door. Not just internally, but externally too. What people think of you, what they assume of you. However, it's also internal, whether you doubt yourself. No matter how much you know, they're wrong. The day a doctor finally said, I presume that it's Ehlers-Danlos too, I didn't realize how much it would hit me. That no matter how much data I had as a scientist, external validation matters because you doubt yourself until. You need both. And undoing early trauma, old triggers, complex trauma, concerns, inner child, double mind, whatever you want to call it, the 2 chairs, just your previous you, all the previous yous need to stick together. So take care of yourself first. Flicksboro would have felt to some of the people there like a town-sized bomb had gone off. Because it did. It just didn't happen to be an attack. Why? Why did it blow up so big? At this point, most people, many of my students, begin at the simple spot. Of course they do. Well, the plumber did it. It must have been his mistake. Well, besides the fact that there's no evidence for him making a mistake, why do we think it was him? Did he do something wrong? And this is what in design is called inherently safer thinking. And it was originally for chemistry from this incident. And then it began being brought into other engineering trades, mechanical from chemical. It became part of engineering ethics. And the concept of inherently safer design and inherently safer thinking has moved over into service design and computers design and healthcare design and now into industry. Just regular industries sometimes use it as a planning strategy. And the first thing it says is the triggering event is usually not what's at fault. Even if the guy did something wrong, he was just one man in the middle of a giant complex, and he's the one who knew he was going to die. He had a moment, or he didn't, but he could have. I don't want to blame anybody who knows that something horrible is about to happen. And if they didn't intend to do it, then it's not their mistake. Even if he made a small mistake in what he was doing, all humans make mistakes. Everybody's finger slips. Everybody. It's the second law of thermodynamics, right? Things happen. Shouldn't we design them in? Have you ever tripped in your life? Shouldn't we design that in? Have you ever forgotten something at home? Shouldn't we design that in? Have you ever been sick, gotten the flu? Shouldn't we design that in? Have you ever had a sore shoulder from mousing too much? Shouldn't we design that in? That's what inherently safer design says. If he made a mistake, why did it blow up so big? In inherently safer design, he's literally called the triggering event. He's not the one who made an error, though. What was the error? Why did it blow up so big? Remember our little chart here, the diagram of these 10-story high things. He put in a bypass pipe, a giant one, I might add, even if he'd put it in perfectly. Here's what we know. The design for this pipe was done by the mechanical engineers, and they calculated the flow rate of the liquid coming through. And the cyclohexane, the flammable material that was stored and then moved through these reactors in order to create nylon, came through at, let's just round it to about 9 kilograms per centimeter squared. A centimeter, about half an inch. A kilogram, about a gallon. 10 gallons per half inch squared. Okay. Big damn pipe. Should have been enough, right? You know who wasn't on site that Saturday when they were doing maintenance? A chemical engineer. And if my dad was here as a chemistry teacher his entire life and a guy who liked to blow up things from an early age, one day I'll tell the story of him throwing chunks of sodium with fuses into ponds. What did he say? He was about 7 to 10 when he did. He may have been a little older, but he liked to blow up things early too. I remember my brother and I blowing things up too. Rockets, little cap guns. That's how you learn how to blow stuff up, by blowing stuff up. They calculated the correct flow rate. But what was flowing through the pipe wasn't water. It was cyclohexane. And they forgot about the chemistry of flow. The pipe wasn't big enough for the way cyclohexane moves through pipes. The fastest analogy I've used for this is think about toilets. They're not only moving water. The flow changes whether you use the toilet and what goes down it. Think about when sludge burbles out of a pipe. It doesn't move the same way as water flows cleanly out. It goes blip, 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 blip. Think about the last time you clogged something, last time you tried to wash mud off of something. Even something that's approaching liquid doesn't flow like a liquid. It has viscosity. Even if it's just a little more viscosity, pushing honey through a pipe would be different than even soy sauce. Now, water and soy sauce, might not be able to tell the difference, but ketchup? Salad dressing? Each one runs a little different through the pipe, and it mixes and turns and blurps and air bubbles and moves. Even if there isn't air, it moves differently. And cyclohexane is sufficiently different enough to have a little bit more thickness. It is extremely, as I kick my camera, extremely minor thickness. But when we're talking about a half-meter pipe and the 20-inch bypass and 10 gallons per square half inch, that's some dang, we're moving a lot of crap. And even if it's just a little thicker, it's going to catch up and make little swirls, right? Think about oil in water, just the way it makes those little swirls as it drizzles through. Lava lamp moves slightly different than the liquids in them, even soap. And they calculated it mechanically, not chemically. The pipe wasn't big enough to deal with the very minor churn, the laminar flow, the way the liquid bumps up against itself because of its very slight viscosity. So they made the error. Well, did they? Did they calculate it wrong? Very possibly. But why? Why were the mechanical engineers that were on site that Saturday and who died? Why were they the ones doing it? Where was the chemical engineering? Why was this a skeleton crew? Who chose it? Do you just show up at your work and say, unless you're the CEO of something, and even then you're constrained, if you're a guy who works a place, do you decide what you are supposed to do that day? Or are you told by somebody else? Okay, the higher ups. Who chose this? Whose plan was it? Okay. And for our commercial break, take a thought about why you think it blowed up and who's at fault.
But there's like no one even watching this stream. Why are you asking them questions? I know.
How rude! Because I am recording it for my children. I'm being bullied on my own live stream. How crummy is that?
Children are mean to you.
Mommy, where are you? Are you on stream? My kids are being mean to me. Thanks, Rocket. The adults these days. I don't care. I'm going to tell the story so it exists. Someone can listen to it later. I think Rocket and Spoon are headed out into the real world. They just left. It's a rainy day here in Ontario, Canada. And they just walked outside into the real world. Do teenagers do that? I'm a little confused. Wonderful. They're no longer in my walls. Thanks. Why? Why to blow up? The triggering event was the plumber. The substantive error was the mechanical engineer's design of the bypass. But are they the root cause? Or do we have to keep going? Oh, well, what about the higher up, people say? They always want to follow the people. Cool. Whose fault is it? What was the real reason it was so bad? How do we make it not happen again? Did the managers tell them to do this? Was it just their job to get it back and working by Monday? Did they feel pressured? what was going on. Even if we don't have that information, does it matter? Spoon's here, and so is Rocket. Hi, Rocket and Spoon. And they got the mail, which, yeah. How exciting is that? It's the home and oh, look, it's a hardware. And oh, look, it's junk mail. Anybody want a pizza? And what else? We're taking a break for. Oh, look, Amazon sent me their kids gift book so that we can look at. It's like the mini. It's remember when we used to have the catalogs? We used to go through those. There you go. Do you want to go, dear valued customer? Rocket, you're a valued customer. Mail. How exciting. No, I'm not going to show my mail on stream. And hard the math is going to edit out of the thing too. But hey, sure. Oh, look, it's my insurance. Oh, look, it's adulting. Oh, look, it's bill. Oh, look, I have to pay some stuff. Oh, yep, I really do. Okay, well, then I'm going to do that. I'm going to go do my insurance because that's important. Uh-oh. Really should have done that. Wait, did we get mail or is this really old mail? I thought Canada Post was on strike. Is it? Is it back on? I don't know. I don't even keep track of that. Someone else will have to tell me what's going on with the strike. Maybe they delivered now. Maybe this is old mail that's been there for a long time. I don't know. It does. It says the 3rd. I don't know. We'll have to update that. But that's, I have to adult after this. Dang it. Adulting's hard. It's better than the alternative. It's better than waking up on a Saturday and then not coming home from work. So what can we learn about this? Even if someone told them to do this, it had to be done. Was anybody specifically wrong? Where was the problem? Mistake, error, problem. Was the problem in the design? Yes. Was the problem in their thing and bypassing it? Yes. All those things can be true, but is it the root cause? Is it what triggered the bad thing to happen? And when you're having an anxiety day or a panic attack or a PTSD event, or if you're just sitting at home freaked out that the world sucks and the news from North America is that the Americans aren't okay right now and they never were, and wow, is this really happening? And to that I say it's always been that bad. We just didn't have it in North America at our door. This is just the first fascist president that we've been through. The Europeans are probably laughing at us and going, fascist presidents? Ha ha ha, we have those. We have hundreds of years of those. Thanks. Exactly. But the world's also never been as good as this. That everybody in the entire world could hear this story if they find it and watch it. And my friends and my family and my hangers-on and my bonus children can watch this later and I can send it to my friends. The world has never been as good either. Yesterday was no kings in the United States. And I did not participate, being a Canadian, but I watched very carefully. And to those who are good people, thank you for being seen. It is not the tool using it. It's the tool using it. Tools are just tools. You can hurt somebody with a tool of violence, or you can make dinner with one. Why did it blow up and why did it hurt so many people? The secretaries died. The mechanical engineers died, except for two. Two of them, when the first bang went off, there is a story they told afterwards. That two of the engineers in the lab or whatever building they were in had made a pact with each other. They were older men, and they had either survived the war, Second World War. I don't know if I don't have any evidence that they served, but they at least knew. They were at least men that had grown up in the bombings, in the Blitz. The Blitz wasn't one thing, right? It was the constant bombings of England. There are still people alive who remember the Blitz, right? If they were a child. And I'm sure those people have traumatic responses to things brought into the memory of what's going on. When people say trigger warning and content warnings, it's so people can make good decisions about the things they watch next. But I think that many people don't understand that the difference between an anxious content or trigger versus a true PTSD trigger. We only have the image in movies about the veteran who falls into a reverie and is all of a sudden back in the war. But that's only one version of post-traumatic symptoms. And the whole representation of it is a mess, but the part where you are instantly brought back to something is true. It's also estimated that over half of the people who are in a specific neurodiverse type that have what's called hyperthymesia, an above average to very above average autobiographical memory, such as myself. I remember most of the things that have ever happened in my life as a full memory video. And most of them are as clear as remembering the video of the coffee I drank this morning, the sandwich I had yesterday, the sandwich I had first when I came to university, the sandwich I had in the ethics class where my engineering professor taught me inherently safer design and told me the story of Flexborough. It's not much farther back. Time works different when you have this kind of memory. And PTSD is a pain in the PTS when your memories are all like that. And when one of them gets triggered, you are there, or you are stuck, or you are behind glass, or you are not here anymore, or you are cold, or you are hyper, or you are looking around every corner. All of them are part of it. And if you're having any of those symptoms in panic attack, in anxiety, or in post-trauma of something, it's really happening. You're not making it up. It is a physiological response, and it can be measured. It is, in fact, not all in your head. And even if it was all in your head, so is my contact lens prescription. And there ain't nobody in the entire world that wants to drive with me with my glasses off. I should put up, I need to find a representation of how bad my vision is. But I'm going to go with, if I take off my glasses, it looks about like that. Yeah, that's about right. I am blind. Like there's smushy, go look through blurry images and see that, that's basically what I see on a daily basis. Yeah, this is about right. That's about right. That's what these cool camera trick things. That's my vision. So yeah, it's all in my head. Screw you. It's all in your head, like your auditory issues, like if you're blind, or have any other difference of ability or disability. And even then it's not. Traumatic responses to things triggers. Something triggering you is not, I notice that it's us snowflakes. It's us lefty, crazy, whiny snowflakes that can't take a trigger. Who's the population that is so scared of someone being gay that can't talk about it? Who's the snowflake? The person being insulted or the person doing the insulting? Have you ever been called a jerk by a nice person or by a jerk? This sounds like every accusation is a confession. What, you don't like waffles? Hey, Pancake, I love waffles. I love pancakes and waffles. Pancake is joining me, a good friend of mine, who also knows what it's like to be actually triggered. And we don't mean, oh, we clutch our, I should have worn pearls. I'm going to wear pearls for my next stream, so I can clutch them. No, actually, the people who have post-traumatic responses or panic attack disorder or generalized anxiety that constantly occurs from the worst to the just, a little bit, or those of our friends who have OCD, which is an anxiety disorder as well. It is not to be made fun of. It is a real thing happening, and it's not all in your body. Oh, wait, it's not all in your mind. I mean, it's not all in your head. I mean, wait. And even if it was, then why does my heart rate go up? Why do I sweat? Because it is physiological and occurring all the way down your spine, into your bowels, out your nose, through your eyes. It is as real as a cold. Is the cold all in your head? Why did it blow up? Why did it blow up so damn bad? Why was it like a bomb went off? Whose fault is it? The bomb's fault. Okay, I want everybody to put on their ask one 14-year-old boy. I follow a couple channels that are just brilliant, and they have the bad design. Ask one 14-year-old boy before you pick your logo, or put up your name, or design it that way. A friend of mine used to work for a company near here that had the slogan, it was for doors and locks. In or out, we make it easy. Ask one 14-year-old boy, or any gender, really. And they'll tell you that bombs go off because they're bombs. And my younger brother would tell you, hey, Mike, you're on the stream again. You get talked about way too much. The reason that bombs are big is because there's more bombs. And now here I may throw off Grandma, the queen, in our family at least. Because my younger brother, Mike, liked to blow stuff up. And if he took one cap gun and hammered it with a screwdriver, it was more fun to get a pile of them, line them all up and hammer that, or go get all of them and take out and scratch out all of the cap guns. That's when you had cap guns. Oh my gosh. I grew up when there were cap guns. I grew up when there were lawn darts. Oh, it's such a good time. Such a good time. Good times, good times. No, it's horrible. The future is much better, children. Run, run, run away from the boomers. I'll protect you from them, okay? Get away. Get away while you can. I'll hold them back the best I can. I'll turn around and talk to them and tell them the kids are fine. Go, get free. It's not just the kids that need to learn from the past. It's the adults that need to learn from the future and the past. We all need to keep learning. If we get stuck, bad things happen. I tell my students at this point, you know, all those pretty things, Einstein or whatever quote with flowers that says, make mistakes. Does our culture really let you do that? No. It says hide them. Hide your mistakes. Ignore them. Put them into and under other people. Silo, pun intended, all the people working so that nobody knows what the other person is doing. Nobody does the double checks. They just know, I'm supposed to do that. It's not me, sir. It's just the computer, sir. It's just the calculations, sir. It was just told. I'm just doing what I was told, sir. 23 people died and hundreds were injured because somebody did what they were told. It was nobody's fault. It was all of their fault, and it was the bomb's fault. So stop focusing on the people for a second and the mistakes that they're allowed to make, and ask yourself a simple question. Think like my 14-year-old brother. More bomb equals more big. Why was there a bomb on site? And why could it blow up? The bypass was done incorrectly. But bypassing was a regular occurrence. Why wasn't it designed in? Why wasn't there a protocol? Why did they have to come up with it each time? Why didn't we expect this to happen? But keep going. We're still not there yet. We're still not at the metaphor shift that I want all of you who struggle with anxiety to hear. The explosion was that big because the bomb was that big. And the thing that blew up was the cyclohexane in the large silos. Okay. So those large silos the large reactor chambers what was the problem? No one designed a way to do it. We should have known ahead of time. All of those mitigation things are true. All of those moderation things are true. Inherently safer thinking says keep going. Why was it there in the first place? Well, they were making nylon, right? Okay. And these giant reactor chambers are needed because, one, that's the size that you can run and do, and also that so you can make more nylon. Big reactor means more product, more profit. Sounds like accidental capitalism to me. No safety protocols. Just do it the way that's easy. Okay. So, I mean, it's a plant. It's going to be there. You got to have all the chemicals to make nylon, and you got to have a lot of cyclohexane on hand, right? Why? How much cyclohexane do you need for each one of these reactor tanks? For each silo worth of reactor, cyclohexane is just one additional thing to all the other stuff that actually makes it. And for a giant reactor, the amount of cyclohexane that is needed in the entire reactor at one time is about the size of the lemonade I just poured. Think of a scuba tank or a large fire canister, right? If you've seen a big industrial fire extinguisher, each reactor chamber only needed about a tank. And if you look at the original NIPRO plant, see if we can get that image to show up without sort of all being squished for you. Here you go. These are the reactors. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, dog-legged with a 20-inch line. There's an 8-inch line. These are the even bigger silos. These are where the reactors occurred. Here is where the chemicals were stored, right next to them. Why? Because that's how it had been built previously. What do you mean? That's why it was built previously. Why? Because it was originally a fertilizer plant that had been bought. Cyclohexane is also part of making yourself there some fertilizer for the farm for all those fields around there. And they went, shoot, we could use this stuff. We could buy it and we could turn it into nylon for all of those windbreakers that are so cool right now. So one of these silos was full of cyclohexane. Even though each one of those reactor tanks only required about a scuba tank worth of cyclohexane per reaction, one of those taller silos was all cyclohexane because it was there from when it was a farm thingy. And it just got built. It got built and it got done and it was there until, and why? Because they bought all the cyclohexane that was there. What's the root cause of this explosion being as big as it was? Because it was there. Because the cyclohexane was on site and was kept on site. And no one thought to themselves, oh my God, that silo is the equivalent of a wartime bomb if it were to ever go off. Well, there were. That's why the two men survived. Actually, there is a tale that I may or may not be saying exactly right, but there is a tale that the two men who knew about the Blitz and knew that the cyclohexane was there and had had a discussion about the fact that they were sitting on a work site that had a bomb on it, or enough cyclohexane to be one, to level a square mile in one moment, and to blow out the windows and roofs of hundreds of houses in another 2 or 3 mile radius. That's 3 to 5 kilometers. That's all of how much of downtown Toronto goes off. How much of the city outside of Toronto that I live in, that's I think that's taken out most of the downtown area there. Imagine flattening a square mile in one moment. But the first bang, those two men had made a pact. They knew, they had complained, there was paperwork, there was a huge investigation. And when the bomb was lit, when the pipe exploded, they had made a pact that if they ever heard anything, that they would run. They would run to the River Trent. And the train line, which you can't see here, has a hill going down to the train, just about where this line is at the top of the picture. You can see a train there faintly. The river, the creek. This has hills a little bit that goes down to the train line and down to the river. They had made a pact in the laboratory and the hydrogen plant. Oh, right, because there was a hydrogen plant right next to a giant silo of cyclohexane. They knew how big this bomb was. Everybody knew how big this bomb was. And the two men who survived said that if they ever heard it and they were having tea, a sandwich, mid-afternoon snack somewhere else, and they were on the side of the complex, that they could run behind these buildings, and they flat out ran to the train track, got behind something, and when the explosion went off, they survived, and in their injuries and burns, they ran for the river and jumped in. They had made a pact that if they ever heard a single thing, they knew they were sitting on a non-wartime bomb. And they survived and said a little bit about what happened in the investigation. There were mistakes everywhere. But they were just triggers. They just lit the flame. They just set off the remembering. But it's the memory's fault. Triggering events in design and triggering events in anxiety, whose fault are they? They're the fault of the people who made the errors, the fault of the people who set off the problems, but they're the bomb's fault. They're the memory's fault. And they're the fault of the people who left the bomb on site. Or installed a bomb in you. Or set off bombs around you long enough. Or the chemistry of rocket caps that you were just born with. Or the neurodiversity combined with just all the crap in our society that says you weren't good enough and there's no safety practices and there's lawn darts and gay is bad. You know, those 90s I was talking about I grew up in? Well, the 70s, right? The bullying and the thing and the stuff. You're not cool and whatever. And the daily furry that Rocket gets. Oh my God, thank you for noticing. When my kids fake insult us sarcastically, Oh, look, it's a pickle. My kids say, you're a pickle. And I go, thank you for noticing, finally. It's not an insult if it's not bad. Being girly is not an insult. Being gay is not an insult, unless those things are bad. I've told the story of my goalie girl who every game we like to shout, you catch like a girl, and the entire team and everybody around us would go, you bet she does. Woohoo! Did you water? It's 2:00 here. Did you water? That's what Spoon likes to tell me. That's my favorite line of theirs. It came out as one word. Oh, they're banging on they're in the ceiling. Oh my God, Spoon's in the ceiling. They're in the walls and now they're in the ceiling. Spoon says, did you water? It's a single word or two. I don't know, but it's did you water? And it was just a misspeak sometime when they were tired and like, Mom, did you drink a glass? Mom, did you water? Did you water? And I'm taking my meds as prescribed and supplements as needed and touch grass. And give yourself a hug or give one or ask for one if you need it. And if you don't have somebody to hug you, give yourself a hug. It's okay. Nothing wrong with that. Or hug a stuffy. Why do you think we have so many comfort items for adults now? Why do you think coziness and adults go together? Maybe they're the traumatized children of the past who are finally reclaiming sensory normalcy, touch, care, love, sensory understanding. It being okay to ask for a hug, it being okay to cry, it being okay to say, I love you. I love you, man, should not throw off people. Shouldn't be a trigger, should it? But it is. Recently threw off a friend by going, damn, I love you, by text, and them going, oh my God, I'm an assigned male and this is an assigned female and you can't say I love you because now all the crises of I love you comes back and the panic attack that causes a trigger. But it's not the word's fault. It wasn't my mistake. It wasn't their error. It was the problem. It was the bomb. It was the fact that there was so much stuff lying around. And the people who left the bomb on site, it is their fault. Whoever said, let's build a hydrogen plant next to cyclohexane and have so much goddamn fuel on site that the whole thing could level it. Take it off site. If they had simply moved the cyclohexane to an off-site silo, I mean, take a look around. You saw the map. I mean, there's industrial stuff a mile away. Could have just, taken it over there, right? And it wasn't a spill and the tank didn't light up. It was the fact that it leaked and became gas. And it leaked and blew up. Again, if they'd put it in a silo somewhere else, even if it had leaked, it would have dissipated. If they'd pressurized it and turned it into a liquid, it would have flowed differently. If they had, it is the fault of the people who built the bomb or the people who left the bomb accidentally there, just as triggers are the fault of the trauma that you endured, the bad thing that happened to you, or the bad person who did it. It is not the fault of the tool being used, it's the fault of the tool using it. But it's not the people you think. It's not the fault of the people having the conversation that triggers each other. It's the fault of the people who left the triggers lying around, or who built them on purpose to hide their crap in other people, that downloaded their intergenerational trauma into you, or had to take their bullying and pass it on to somebody else as a bully at school, or the medical society telling me, you can't feel that. I'm almost done now. Well, you don't get a choice about that. Are you sure you can't just stand up? You look fine when you, if you have chronic pain, how come you can go running today? Really? In your entire life, have you never had a day where you could do something today and then you couldn't do it tomorrow? If I asked you, could you run a marathon today? Well, okay, let's make it a 5K. Okay, let's make it like a solid 2 mile run. Most people could pull it off. Can you do it again tomorrow? Okay, now do it tomorrow. Now do it the next day. Now do it the next day. Why can't you do it the next day? You did it yesterday. It blew up because somebody left a bomb lying around. And PTSD happened because of the bad thing that happened. And the triggers are there because you needed to protect your mind. It's a toaster alarm going off in my mom's kitchen, the aforementioned queen. She had an alarm forever, a fire smoke alarm. It was right over the door of the kitchen. That thing went off at anything. You couldn't make toast. And just like the boy that cried toast, we all know that parable. Every time you made anything, the alarm would go off. And then you got good at like taking a towel and waving the fire alarm until the smoke dissipated. Or you got used to finding, like, where was the... And so when the fire alarm went off in their house, after a while, you either worried that it wasn't a fire every time and got sick of it and bored. You went to a low and dissociated. You went tired or quiet and couldn't deal. Or you worried that every single time it went off, it was a fire. And now it's a triggering event. It's a trigger. And if the trauma was bigger, it could be bigger. But the size of the trauma doesn't even matter. It's how big a bomb it is. And that could be more or less stuff that happened. You don't have to compare that. A small amount of an explosive in gas could be far more dangerous than the same fuel as a liquid in a huge amount. What mattered, what let the trauma settle in, is not how big the bomb was even. It was whether or not someone let you have it be trauma. When I was a birth doula, I attended stillbirths. I attended expected deaths. I attended medical emergencies. I attended surgeries on infants that were hours old. I attended second attempts at births instead of surgical births. VBACs, etc. And the thing that made it traumatic, over and over, people told me, and the psychology says, that if the people didn't have support and help to talk about it at the time, the trauma settled in. That's the root cause. Not that there was a bomb on site, but the fact that it was known to be a bomb and everyone ignored it anyways. The people who didn't change it or couldn't, the people who couldn't change it, it's not their fault at all. We have to expect mistakes. We have to expect it to blow up. It's the fault of the people who left it there, whoever was in charge of leaving it there. And leaders and hierarchy charts in my head say, you're not more important than me. You're the person who protects us more. So yes, it is the fault of the higher ups. But it's also just the fault of the cyclohexane. That's the root cause. The tool and the tool using it. The fault of the trauma is the trauma or the people who did the trauma to you, and then to the people made mistakes along the line who didn't let you talk about it or didn't let you be supported while it happened. Trauma, bad. I've been in some of the worst situations ever. I've held a cord in my hand of a baby that hadn't been born yet. I'm not going to tell you what happens then. And don't Google it unless you really want to. But there was no trauma for me or the birthing person because we were there together. Yeah, the bad thing happened. There was fear, and then afterwards there was shock, and there was sadness, and there was freak out, but it didn't settle in because we got to laugh about it, and we got to cry about it, and we got to yell about it, and we got to be supported by every single person around us. And even if there were mistakes and errors, because everybody and every situation has mistakes and errors, it didn't become a problem, and it didn't become trauma. It didn't become a crisis. It didn't become an explosion. And some of the smallest things can stick with you for years, decades and decades and decades. And I talk to 60, 70, and 80-year-old women all the time who, the minute I say I attended births, they jump back and go, I remember my births. Even if they don't have hyperthymesia, they could remember nothing. And they remember their births. And especially the trauma. And the number one trauma they say is that it wasn't the bad thing. It was that no one listened. It was that they weren't believed. It's that they were left alone. It's that no one said, supported. And that's what a doula does. We're there. And that's what a Moshe does. I've told the story of Maria the Moshe. And that's what Little Misdiagnosed does. She says, no, you're not making it up. I've had a unique experience. It's very difficult, but finding out that my children are very likely carriers of the same collagen disorder as me, and they're all being tested, but they have provisional diagnoses, and they have some of the sub-diagnoses that lead you to this larger thing. It's horrible to find out that my kids are going to go through the same thing as me. And then I realize they're not going to go through the same thing as me because I didn't have anybody to talk to about it. And they do. And not just me who has it, They're learning from me, but I'm realizing I'm learning more from them. Because every time they say, oh, this is a struggle or this is a thing, I get to reflect and go, that actually happened to me when I was young. And it changes a little bit my triggers, my anxieties, my misunderstandings, the things that were allowed to settle in because I, as a kid, doubted. Doubt, guilt, and shame are not healthy when allowed to settle in. They're good for the moment, but they're short-term processes. And in our society, they have become full-time jobs. They were meant to be acknowledgement, regret, and grief. Turning the triangle of guilt upside down and letting it drain out rather than being a blade that continues to cut you. You can let it be a way for it to flow out. Acknowledge. You couldn't have known. I wish I'd known, but not I should have known. I should have known says should you have? Is it your fault? Is it your guilt? Was it your mistake? I wish I'd known is acknowledgement. Regret. I wish I could have done something. I wish I could have been there. I wish I could have acted differently, very different than I should have. Guilt in our society is so built in. We don't realize we're still Puritan idiots. We think we're a different society than Elizabeth I or the Mayflower. It's Thanksgiving in Canada just went by, and American Thanksgiving will come up and we'll all talk about the Puritans. Well, we still are. We're still running an experiment where we have to say sorry to everybody. Why do the people who don't need to say sorry so often? Why do the people who need to say sorry don't? Because the guilt has been downloaded onto you. Guilt is meant to work for a moment. It's meant to go, crap, I screwed up. I need to fix the mistake. But if it's allowed to settle in and become an error or become a problem or become a crisis because you ignored it longer, the people who ignored the problem longest set off the bomb. The adults when you were a child, the medical staff when you were the patient, the friend who wasn't a friend, the bully was bullied. And they deserve help too, but not from you. Guilt can't settle in because all that does is make it okay to not talk about it. And that's the most dangerous thing of all. Inherently safer thinking says we think about every time we could make a mistake. Collaborative proactive solutions from Ross Greene says the same thing. Mistakes will happen. The second law of thermodynamics says crap happens. Things explode. If it can explode, the second, third law of thermodynamics, if it can explode, it will eventually. If you can trip, you will eventually. Everything will happen eventually. So expect it. And the people who need to expect it are the ones who were there first, who are the least vulnerable, not the people it happened to. Regret. I wish I could have done something, but not, I should have done something. And grief. I think the number one concern we have in our society about why inherently safer design isn't something that my students pick up well, and isn't something that the people out here are struggling with, and isn't something that we don't believe at our core because, oh, everybody should make mistakes and try new things, is BS we say in kindergarten. You are not allowed to make a mistake. You have to keep your average of, you have to. If you screw up even one time, it was you that did it. No. Mistakes are baked into the system as biological creatures. I am going to burp today. Might as well expect it. I'm going to need to drink water today. I might as well expect it. I am going to fall down today. Well, okay, maybe not fall down, but I'm going to get tired. I'm going to get sick with my chronic illness. Why not expect it? Plan for it. Because society says don't. Push through. Overpace. Run the marathon too fast. Do you know what? Ask any runner. What happens if you go too fast over your pace? You'll never finish. Even though it seems like you're going faster, you can't. And if you fall behind, going faster over your pace isn't going to work either. It is a careful acceleration, a lot like viscosity. You can't just push honey faster through the pipe. It needs to slow down and worry about the laminar flow. Rest is required. Grief. I wish I could have known, and I wish I could have done something. And neither of those things are true, and the bad thing happened anyways. And I am allowed to be sad. And those statements are simple and not true in our society, are they? We say they are, but they're not. They're not the metaphors at the root of things. We put them into our methods, our tools. Yeah, mistakes. We put them into our methodologies. Our templates say, don't worry about mistakes. We'll work together. Don't worry. Oh, I'm very fault tolerant. I like to change things. Does it though? When the chips are down, when the friendship matters, when the manager has to review you, do they care? Or do they just count your errors? Are you allowed to say, hey, I think this is badly designed? Nope. Or do we all just have meetings about what we should do better? How about, where's the meetings about how we should do things worse? Huh? That's the kind of meetings I have. When I'm working as a startup supporter with students, or we're doing capstones, we're doing projects, we're doing, incubators for new businesses. I work in an area, the tech area, where, we have lots of those. And I've worked as essentially the COO for small business startups. And we have meetings about all the mistakes we're going to make. And I make sure it's not just an icebreaker. We have to believe it. Because on top of the 4 M's: method, methodology, mindset, and metaphor, is one more. And at this point, I'm going to get called a communist on the stream. That'd be great. Hi. Oh, wait, it's not an insult unless that's bad. And it's only, I'm not, maybe that word doesn't mean what you think it means. That word you keep using. And who's insulting me? I look forward to all the mistakes I'm going to make in life. Because that means I'm still here doing it. When I stop making mistakes, I will stop being biology. And I'll be only chemistry or physics. And I prefer to get really old and ugly. Because then I got more time. And I wouldn't have picked chronic pain from a pile. But now that it's here, oh, don't touch the brain that it came from. I don't know if you'd have one without the other. I could have gotten sick with the measles at 6 months and not be here as an old lady. Just is what it is. Second law of thermodynamics. Shit happens. So plan for it. Grief isn't planned for. It isn't part of the manifesto. And I use that word not in its Marxist use, but its original small letter use. Just like I use mindset, not as a, oh my God, our mindset, like we're girl bosses. No, I mean your real actual mindset. And I don't use metaphor like, oh, it's a simile, it's what, no, it is literally what you believe and the way you speak. And whether you care about it being I wish or I should. Seems like a small difference, but it is all the difference to someone who's struggling with guilt to turn I should into I wish I could have. And it changes the triggering event and the triggers to say, this is really happening to me and I wish it would stop. I wish I hadn't gone through it in the first place, but I'm glad my brain knew how to run across and jump in the river. PTSD isn't a great escape, but it meant you survived. And you can't change the disaster. You can only make a pact to survive. All you can do afterwards is take care of yourself. You might not be able to change the trauma, but you can change what you do with it. I hate those stupid things that say you're a stronger person because of what happened to you. No, I'm not. I'm a stronger person because I'm a strong person and because people supported me and now I can support other people. I didn't become a good person because bad things happened to me. I became a good person because I'm a good person and I got better at it. The bad things just happened. Don't you dare tell me they needed to happen to make me a good person. What about all the bad things that happened that made people bad people? No. I'm good people because I survived as good people. It was a choice I made. There's a meme that I have posted up on all of my stuff. It's my front of my phone right now. And it says, I used to worry about the fact that they were going through something too. And then I realized that I was going through something and I never did those bad things to anybody else. I chose to be a good person and I choose to be a good person the next day. And I'm going to make mistakes about that, but inherently safer design and the ethics of engineering and professions and parenting say, I am going to plan for the mistakes I make so that I can make less of them in the future. I'm going to plan for the triggering events and the trauma that could happen. And even when I'm wrong and something happens I didn't plan for, I couldn't have planned for, I am not going to let other people's shame and guilt and hurt be downloaded into my acknowledgement and regret and grief. I'm going to cry in front of people, and I'm going to cry again in front of the people who are okay with it. And for those who are struggling because someone cried in front of them and they felt overloaded, that's a trauma response or a sensory one. If you can't see the way out because the damage somebody else or something else did to you, it closes the exit too. All the people that avoided all of the crap and said, you're fine, or you should have done, or it's your problem, or you shoulda. And I have a friend who used to say, you sounds like you got a case of the shouldas. I wish if those people said should, maybe they're worried about what they should have done instead. Think about yourself before you dump it on the kid or the partner or the friend or the someone more vulnerable than you, someone who's sad, someone who's in crisis. Maybe the people who are less vulnerable should do a better job of taking care of vulnerable people. And the people who are vulnerable are allowed to take care of themselves first. The plumber may have made a mistake. The mechanical engineers may have made an error. The chemical engineers who weren't even on site because they were not told about this may or may not have made a problem. The people who told them to do it this way, it's all a red herring to the fact that there was a bomb. And your triggers, your PTSD, your panic attacks are every topic that happens during them is a red herring to why you react that way. When was it installed? Where's the software that's running? Where is the algorithm or the choices? Where is the farm that was bought? The farm that was sold? And why was it still on site right next to a hydrogen plant? And who didn't acknowledge it for you? And who didn't let you regret it? And who didn't let you be sad? I told teachers at a meeting a while back about, that thing where we can't cry in society. Like if you're crying in your car, you got to whatever. And they're like, oh, well, we don't have that. I'm like, no, just acknowledge the fact that happens everywhere. Like that's the North American standard, cry before a meeting. You got to hide it in the bathroom. What do you mean you don't know about that? Then you haven't lived and you shouldn't be a teacher. Oh, well, I know that kids mask sometimes. And the smarter they are, the more they mask. The more they don't make it other people's problems because they're that intelligent. If you are someone who masks your illness, if you're somebody who masks your trauma, if you're someone who is a functional whatever, and you can get away with hiding it, that's probably because you're smarter, not because you failed or because you're not smart enough, or why did I let them do that to me, or why did it happen to me? It happened to you because you were on site that Saturday, not any other reason. The bad thing that happened was the bomb, not you. And the bomb got bigger when it was left there and everybody ignored it. That's when it got scary. The kids are okay. The kids talk about this stuff. It's us adults that have the problem. And we're the ones downloading our intergenerational trauma onto them. And if we do not recognize that and say, God, what am I doing wrong today? Then we're screwing up as parents. But not because we're bad at our jobs, probably because we're really good at them. And because we're really smart to do that. Bad parents don't look at why they're bad parents. Good parents worry all day. Bad employees don't really give a crap that they're bad employees. Good employees worry every minute. If you're worried about it, that probably means you're the good one. And if you're panicked or traumatized to post-trauma reactions, then you've probably been dealing with it so long and so hard and so much and so completely and so masked that the only place it could go was into your nervous system, because it's not all in your head, it's in your fingers, in your toes, in every single nerve in your body, in your parasympathetic system. Don't hide it anymore. Not hiding it is really hard. And you're going to run into so many bad situations where you told the wrong person too much, because we still have to have all those white stories for the stupid people. Oh, wait, we're not supposed to call people stupid. What they do is stupid. Okay. For the people who do stupid things. The only stupid decision is the unexamined one. The only error is a mistake that you don't say, I made a mistake. And the only bad thing you might do is tell other people, don't say you don't know, don't say you made a mistake. Don't support a culture that hides the crying, that hides who you are, that doesn't let you be that. And until that's built, when you are coming out of that turtle shell, whether it is for queerness, whether it is for neurodiversity, whether it is for trauma, whether it is for differences of any kind, you're going to get it wrong and tell the wrong person, and it's going to feel like shit until you find the people who are there and they respond differently. And language matters because they respond differently. My words are different because I've thought about them. And my words are different because I had parents who taught me different words. And then I learned new words and I gave those to my kids. And those kids went on the internet and talked about skibbity riz toilets and other stuff too, about like taking care of people and showing your disability. And all of a sudden Rocket has 12,000 people who want to talk about chronic illness being masked and why you can do something one day and you can't do it the next day. Why you have a panic attack due to a certain set of words and not the other thing. Why something is inside of you that's not your guilt, regret, shame, grief. The first rule of Maria, of Little Miss Diagnosis Mom, is you can always cry. There's a reason why that's the first rule. Because if we forget how to grieve, then we can't do any of the things. We can't wish that we could have done something or said something or known something. And some of us are going to have to grieve those for the rest of our lives. But we also need to see that some of the things that we are grieving happened to us and we survived. And the fault wasn't that we fell for it. It's the fact that there was something there to fall for. And that the people or the things or the stuff wanted you to fail. Maybe not on purpose at that moment. Maybe it was no one's intent. But as we saw Failure can occur just between people not being allowed to do the right thing. They don't have to do a bad thing. We just have to ignore a bad thing that could happen. We don't need to set off the bomb. We don't need to have bad intent. All we have to do is have a workplace where you can't talk about the fact that there's a bomb on site. Or if you do talk about the bomb on site, nobody does anything about it. And it's all just normalized. It's raining here today outside of Toronto. Toronto. I'm saying it for my American viewers in the UK. Toronto. Toronto. I've got to work on my CBC, BBC voice for the news. I'm from a province where many newscasters come from because we all talk like this if we want to. But we also talk like this about words matter. They change the mistakes you made into acknowledgement, regret, and grief that you have. And do that with the right person. Seek out the people who speak differently because their manifesto is different. Not the book, the metaphors. The mindset, the metaphors, and the value they live by to speak to that every single time. To be fault tolerant and say, it's gonna blow up. When it blows up, how can I help? How can I make it better? How can I make it not blow up so big? You may not be able to make it not blow up, but how can you make it blow up smaller? Or how can you help after it has? If you have panic or anxiety or post-trauma responses, you survived something, and have you told yourself, wow, that alone is incredible? Or do you hide it under, see all of this stuff I'm not good at, things I can't do? If you get stuck, if you get triggered, if you get ill and have to rest tomorrow, are you going, crap, I got to get to the next thing. I got to do this. I'm behind. Or do you say, man, I do a pretty good job looking like I'm average when I only feel good 2 hours a day, or if my legs don't work, or see how I can push myself like a triathlete, like a 10-mile run that I can do today and not tomorrow? Be impressed with yourself today. Be impressed that your worry and panic and even trauma and your triggers say that you know you went through something bad and you survived, and you didn't just want to yell at somebody else and dump it on them. So you held it in. Well, it's time to not hold it in as much. It's time to put it down. In our culture, the metaphor is that you throw it at somebody else, usually more vulnerable than you. No. The metaphor I always have when I'm insulted, when I'm hurt, when bad things happen, when it's nobody's fault, or when the universe just explodes once in a while, I just put it down on the ground. What I didn't know, what I couldn't do, what I wish I had known. And that doesn't mean that regret and grief won't follow me forever, but I acknowledge my mistakes. And I acknowledge that I didn't make all of the ones I thought I did. And I need to look at the mistakes I really did make and sort and listen to the people who tell me with that support what I should change. And not those who have a vested interest. Look at the source, follow the money. Isn't that on all of the cult and the scam? Look at the source. Why? Because you wish. And wishing is the first step to doing differently next time. So, with a gentle hug just in case you're hurt today, and a little bit of rest for tomorrow. My name is Maria, but you can call me Little Misdiagnosed. Take care till next time.